National Portrait Gallery. A miniature of George Fleetwood by Samuel Cooper, 1647, shows a young man with auburn locks. Pictured from the chest up, in an oval frame, he has a high collar over a black armoured breastplate, tiny brass rivets hammered into the shiny metal. A close-up of his face shows the detail of his pallid complexion, sandy eyebrows and thin moustache, each hair individually rendered. His blue eyes look towards the left. His image is replaced with the head and shoulders of Mary Ann Flaxman, probably a self-portrait from about 1820. She faces front, head tipped to one side. She wears a navy blue gown with a pale blue fichu knotted at the neckline. A white blouse has 2 ruffles under her chin. She's smiling, her nut brown eyes bright and twinkling. Her light brown hair is mostly covered with a white lace cap. The background is made of fine wavy lines in greys and blues. Oliver Cromwell by Samuel Cooper, 1656, wears black armour like that in the first miniature, but here the metal seems tarnished and blown. His face is of yellow and pinkish tones, his nose bulbous, chin beginning to dimple. His light brown hair is collar-length and lanky. His facial hair is so pale he seems devoid of lashes and brows. His blue eyes are hooded, his expression brooding. Next comes Sir Edward Paget, within an oval gold frame. Paget, a middle-aged white man with receding brown hair, fulsome side whiskers and eyebrows that meet across the bridge of his long, straight nose, is painted by Robert Home in 1823. It's on ivory, giving it a translucent quality. Paget, his chin kept high by a wing collar and black cravat, wears a British Army officer's red coat, the texture of the felted material apparent in the paint. He's bedecked with medals. A pink sash forms a background to a miniature he wears of a black ruler. It's edged with diamonds and hangs from a double string of pearls. After Paget, the head and shoulders of Anne of Denmark, the wife of James VI, painted by Isaac Oliver about 1612. Anne has a pale, mask-like face. Her frizzed flaxen hair, abundant above, is pinned with a jewel and ribbons. One hand is pressed to the breast of her stiff brocade gown. A ruff fans out above her shoulders like a dish upon which her head is served. Her gaze is watchful. Oliver Cromwell, in a younger incarnation painted by Samuel Cooper in 1649. His clothing is much the same, but his white skin taut, his expression steely. The intersecting facets of his black armour are highlighted with white flecks where the shoulder plates meet the collar. His gaze is almost distant, his face pictured against the blue sky with puffy white clouds. A wilier expression shows in the gaze of Warren Hastings, painted by Richard Cosway in 1787 with extraordinary realism. Hastings was the first Governor-General of India, and the portrait set in an oval mount studded with what appear to be diamonds. He wears a naval officer's blue jacket. His white stock and the white lining of its collar reflects light up onto his narrow face. His white periwig set far back on a high bony forehead. He looks off to our left, his sharp eyes seeking something in the distance with just the hint of a smile. His image is replaced with that of Sarah Biffin, probably a self-portrait from about 1820 when she was around 40. The artist sits side-on but looks out at us. The puffed sleeve of her cream-coloured gown is empty, as Sarah Biffin was born without limbs. She painted using her mouth, and her paintbrush sits in a pot on the table in front of her. She sports a pink rosebud in her brown hair that's crimped under a white cap and feathers, her face broad, cheeks rosy, her lips pressed together in a smile. Sarah seems at ease with herself, in stark contrast to Lucy Harrington, Countess of Bedford, painted by Isaac Oliver, 1610-15. The expression in this woman's blue eyes is acutely anxious. Her angular face narrows from high, sharp cheekbones to a pointed, dimpled chin. Wavy, strawberry blonde hair falls loose to her shoulders. It's partly covered by a gauzy veil held in place by a coronet, from which jewels dangle on her high forehead. She has more jewels at her ears, and a ring on a lace about her neck sits on the white flesh of her décolletage. The final image is of Azauddin, Nawab Wazir of Oude, painted by Ozias Humphrey in 1786. Our eye is drawn first to the red of the man's turban, a bold contrast to his pale skin and luxuriant black moustache, formed of 2 long black tassels that flow either side of his mouth to below the line of his jaw. He's perhaps in his 30s, his white tunics bound with a striped cloth about the chest. His hands clasp the hilt of a dagger. Text encourages us to explore the collection, npg.org.uk.